Unyana Senians Hama Makwaba and Famumra Ekosiisen. So check with your time, 41 minutes after 3. Make us say the Honorable Oppong Nkrumah the cancer studio MP of Wasi Ayerebi constituency, ranking member on the Economy and Development Committee in Ghana's Parliament, former Information Minister, former Works and Housing Minister of the Republic. Honorable Akwabe to sing.
Mejo so be net saying.
Adumia. Of Wasi Ayerebi Boko.
Onyankopon adumti boko.
Congratulations on your appointment.
Thank you.
And for the Economy and Development Committee, monomosha den.
Who's the first na your finance and economy ne bumbako.
Okay.
Finance just isika semno typically into taxes are ojuji.
Okay.
Bisia obo. Any kwanya wo spend this escano.
Yes.
Na escano wo spend there. I will say ye bibi wo minor economy ni mu. Senior minor sika sembe tumpon. Senior nkofo be nye juma.
Yes.
Senior obi piska o banka ne nsa beka bi. Bank of Ghana nankasa ne niema ohwe na oye different sectors of the economy, agri industry services, senior more air function. Ni nyinara o kan bo man no na ye the actual economy no. Okay. The real sector no.
Okay.
And ye koye ye standing orders for free no parliament a chene man mumiensa your finance committee.
Okay.
A mo mbehwe taxes a eba besia a yebo financial transactions any expenditure per se.
Okay.
Any what budget committee no mbehwe appropriation na kasa.
Okay.
No mahwe releases no ma track say we ka say ebe ma no 600 nsa kan na no de ye den Ekosiisen. And after your economic committee, no me no nyina your majuma Ekosiisen ewo oman no ni sika sempuntozo. Created the necessary growth, any development, any jobs incomes for people, poverty and inequality, all of those issues no and nobody be real ejuma omumi no mo yeni na no e wo si hu de mfaso ewo economy ni mu nti ho na yen committee.
Because minim say yemfa say loan transaction be a here parliamentary approval speaker be direct be a finance committee
you
and for economy and development no nioma ben sa na ba yen expect say speaker de bebre.
I mean, first of all, Bank of Ghana hunsem semni ade nyina be ba ye. Secondly, so to say obi be loan and even budget ho asem ya ye ken also pay appropriation of 290 billion. Now we spend 290 billion we are ebe translate into only 4.4% growth.
Yes.
Tiafe say yen no tena se ne hwesa 290 billion. Na hifa na we dey sha we say 4.4. Aden scan encode this sector more productive. Aha more enuma be ho say ni say na ya hwe. Enti a lot of the issues are a beco finance no obon and then the baby we side ho say how they open approval for interest rate any source of financing credit rating and say be also the tax measure be ba rate need to say fiscal impact need to say okay na ni na we are sika na wo so we are wo de koyedma we be agrek na agrek no in the end no there will be a friend performance report a be translate into growth saying wa agrek enyuma saying wa agrek export saying wa agrek sa analysis no a Greek committee ebeyebi but the economic implications never be enti said ya wo if it's not efficient na say more economy near there ye na betwum adwene so say offer there wo ye na ubus kanegu is not translating into growth of the economy, jobs senior economy ni betum po senior nkofo benye adwuma wo senior skabe konkofo botum senior mpuntuo ankasa beba development in the actual community ba be we inside.
Enti yen share I mean based on explanation awodi amaye minister e kan budget no he referenced Ghana Statistical Service data on the buy. Amaye who 2024 outends now because you see we know say 5.7 and the GDP growth or mama projection of some 4.4 which is non-oil, right?
No, total 4.4.
Total. Okay. Into 4.4. Is it normal from where you sit? Say even though economy grow the prior year by 5.7, no, a new government be massa very measured growth projections. They are normal.
Economic growth a result. A de obey ne be translate into economic growth.
Okay.
Ne obey ne niema mienu. So be kai President Kufuor theory ba ko a eno ye MPP theory a de bia ye ka ho asem. And it's not just an MPP theory, a general economic theory. First part ne business environment. The MPP you can say create the enabling environment
for the private sector to grow.
Into first of all, environment I'll be critical. Any be determined senior a buying any ankra be yejuma ewum na edim punto aba. I said the yepe fancy be yepe score line e football game. So environment no e be a park no kra ball ne gusu ball gusu pole ni ho ayi nsu kra tone ade. Uni environment how the ball I translate into go training on now. In the environment no here no first. Second, apart from creating the enabling environment no, abainan kasasuni programs are all ye de stimulate broni kasa no stimulation all ye de adani dane niema ma sampuntu no abano eno ya de a eno so aban no ma wani kon se sa niema mienu we sei uhunu ya afubo so man mpuntu man sika se mpuntu be ba nanim e ba nanim no so na nkofo onye adwuma na nkofo onye sika wo mti ma mefa bibi nyem fato ho uhwe economy ni ma your great industry services as the three broad categories. For industry, MPP abaya say ye pese industry economy. Into one, ye pese ye improve enabling environment, inflation ye fembra from interest rate, ye fembra from ye exchange rate, ye trying and so many idea. Two, ye pese ye dane infidijuma through the friend of one district, one factory program. Ye be boa infidijuma na konenim. Into both in 2024 no kra na niema mu eden no industry. It grew by 7%. Okay. In fact, say me do call Ghana Statistical Service for data. Finance Minister or judicial budget anymore. Bon say industry it grow. In fact, offer manufacturing. Let me just use manufacturing 2024. Bon say manufacturing 2024 no. Yen out 10 3.9% of GDP.
Okay.
No, in fact, 3.9% year-on-year growth. Okay. To bon say, you know, NDC 4 buy, and almost no be 24-hour economy at the account. Or maybe 1D1F, no be 24-hour economy the account. Into omo ideas, Scotto, Statistical Service, ne Finance Ministry, ne Bank of Ghana for penny for any. The omo yen so omo model we and almost say 24-hour economy in at the 0.1% growth in Beba. Into Oma project to say manufacturing back on anim 4.0 as against the year 3.9. What do I mention? Into a combination of enabling environment and any near mankasa obey. In other places are enabling environment no omo aye maybe and your co metro a constraining enabling environment no. Obey say at the end of the day no growth na na eba so na beba for me. Into for say industry. Ye industry economy 7.1. Assign constraints are budget we mo de abeto industry so ntino. Omo project ewo budget no say industry so beti from 7.1 to 3.8.
7.1 to 3.8.
The ayenya 2024 end no. 7.1 no. Omo be we no de no so atia ba 3.8 because of eniema bia omo eye ewo industry mu titru taxes are on the to industry so no titru energy are available to a lot of industries into what is and go for can dum so who say kasa keke omo models anti light ni ho na nipa also producing no say ni say neti na bia a friend is saying what's also the taxes are to omo so ye model we are e be kon anim saying omo model we no man kasa on budget no say so be TF 7.1 about 3.8. Into growth now a combination of enabling environment and one kasau programs are be executed.
But you don't believe, sir, maybe or more cautious to steady how on your mabeko and then mid-year budget review makes me a review figures way.
Mid-year will be to me review figures. But the question also comes from whether or not we review programs. So we review program now, so figures need be reviewer and should yet too sharp a change. To say YNC first year target 3.1% growth for 2024. By mid-year no mo hwe mu no na ka say betumi akonanim to 4%. Iwi achire no na akoye 5.7. Until there can be changes like that. But often the question becomes, is your strategy changing? And answer is the enabling environment changing. Yen hu ni say de ba kwa e boa yen say enabling environment no improvement no eba one and na na we have turned the corner. I say inflation no eba down pa 54 teba pa currency ne himba speed na fi take on na say started na kakra into bon say the enabling environment component no improve it to me translate it into improved growth for
they've said, and I think okay budgets now even before the budget, the State of the Nation's address a president be deliver Enra finance minister, and so in a course to hint on some of them about the kind of economy amudi ija won. You have hammered the fact that the matter speaks for itself, because based on statistical service data, GDP a critical component in assessing the strength of an economy, no. Modia 5.7.
Okay.
A binance is 5.7 a roost a way be as a the data anchor for, but the devil is really in the detail. All the other indicators in looking good, Papa. It is our 5.7 no, and now they will see a DNA etosubebre. They are not very impressed about the kind of economy amudijao.
No problem. Until no need no say obey ni no. Owie ye ode koto technocrats na nim no.
Yes.
Technocrats na mark ni say. Omsi omhu ni say be 4.4.
A projection.
No problem.
Which can change.
Of course. But as at now, program now they are koto manim no. Kasa ni nechi no. Omsi omhu ni say 4.4. That's the level of confidence the technocrats have in your economic program. But economic cry can nye growth nkwa. Enye growth nkwa ni ka. You can't a few other parameters, your primary indicators, secondary indicators. And to hear some of the other parameters of the economy. And my young go back to 2013 to 2016. Abra Mampeni John Mahama Beye Ghana Mampeni. Na Ghana GDP in dollar terms, now about $64 billion. Mampeni Mahama ye Mampeni 4 years ago. Ghana economy contracted by $10 billion to $54 billion. You're picking up from 2017.
2017, yes.
By 2023, year measure. Starting now 2024, figure we in by 1.2 trillion cedis. By 2023, year computing, now economy now expanded by about $20 billion. It shows you a certain sustained expansion and improvement in the economy. For BBT say Juma, Ghana has a Juma statistics and shada easy to find. The closest I say ya cost it near business and nipa hina abe register new SNIT numbers, because more often than not, no child say nkofo we mo enye adwuma a mo born to the SNIT database. SNIT data chare say job creation about 2.3%. Sorry, about 2.3 million jobs over this period. Fabibi to say inflation. Ekwanya nema bo fa so kosoro.
Yes.
Ye ba ben mo no, ye inherit inflation of msebe 15%. Ye de bar down to less than 10% for about 3 years running. Assemble to year 2020 in inflation, a pick up could do by 54. And in an aggressive exercise of about 2 years, a sign so a boy a home so as part of improving enabling environment, yet so am a union by an 23%. I also to me the bar feel we in fact we have forecast now was a few inflation about less than 10%. Or more targeted by 11% thereabout. It is all primary and secondary indicator. Have you to say on minor sika daho, the friend of gross international reserves.
Yes.
Omufia Bemomja is $6.5 billion. Yera Mahama Ba be president or Juma next morning. Next year daho $8.9 billion, almost $9 billion. Ebina se o ma start a deplete or motete so e de so $1 anymore. Say no OTA to say by the end of the year, because $8.9 billion no. 4 months of import cover. Asem 2 years na ye nyeske bia obebe betumi ahwe
after 4 months.
Bosumi 9. I was saying komu pe bi ka ho na economy. Ye buy na be 3 months of import cover, which is the floor. Inti ye peja move from 6.5 edi bedu almost 9. 4 months of import. And no to say omu be deplete e be come back down to 3. 3 months of import cover.
Because
I don't know say omu use de so dollar ni mu kakra. Now more science so because some of the interventions are na ye oil ho adwuma no and no na say omo dey support omo akwa crude oil ni adiaba enti so we hear the various parameters are yen ka say Ghana be yet say so ahimem debi but the omo di jaye ni de ye koy anim problems be 2 or 3 e ba e pa ye cost of living crisis.
Yes.
Cost of living crisis. Aho chere. Na nneɛma bo e kosoro at a very high rate. Ɛna adwuma sem na onoma epe adwuma despite the 2.3 no na enye obia na enye bi. Nti na ka bebre wachire unemployment rise to about 14%. We last data buyer. Ansa na input to juma baby ana nkofo hwehwe infrastructure, investment in infrastructure, acquiring bridges, overpasses near there no. Baby bebre do aye ye juma passing abanda da na babe sin kono. Baby bebre no mo say the omo hwehwe no mo nsankan. So we didn't win the election. Until now when the NDC comes to power, it's not about relitigating the past. And a dynamic culture almost state of the nation address debate. Yeah, about the past, na propaganda na we no. They say Udi say 4 years now that would no. Beye Udi. Na fi we are young compare Udi no to yen ye no. Ni yen say growth na ye 5.7 in 2024. As who adjusted the projections and say by 2025 you bet me be 8. 2025 no. Baya wo de ne hwe so wo so betumi nya be 8 na
ba o maka so say yes 5.7 ba omo economy omo di jam in 2017 no
na
3.4 good but omo see even with the 3.4 that was an economy omo jam buffers into eja 200 million e was sinking fund mu omo jam esla na estimator say bebre mo be 2 billion every year omo jam nioma ema aban fofra eba no ho enchire ne bebre ba muno enyade amuja omo an economy with those strong buffers apart from international reserves are wakana.
Okay, Franklin Templeton.
Yes.
Okay, de buy. Ye ba ben mu no na eka bebre o ho e wo se etua. Enti ye domestic bond transaction pay $2.7 billion CD equivalent. One of the major asset managers of a company na near friend Franklin Templeton. You know no mendisi for satan the book and for that say so akofa na dam for be a friend Franklin Templeton no problem. Say no kreso mu jaye buffers en kayen konko bobisia $2.7 billion equivalent sa breno enfen service debt obligations ni bia na afford due. But no krene say obi bejao asset obejao liabilities. Wona wo say wo mobilize revenue kakra eka ho na wo dey service obligations. Ye kwe so do when you account back mu na wo ka say sa account no your friend is saying debt servicing account we call na $64,000 na that's our account no ntia no nko ani aban sika nyina wani no kre na multimedia kra mutie mu account na ye baako
no
tama me joy business minimum account banks or outdoor you use kaum na so Ghana ban ti Ghana ban sika nyina da debt servicing account mu we call finance ministry for nko akra mpo mu account treasury main 1 treasury main 2 bebre ansa na wako controller wako different places. Sikan kwa ye jawom revenue na ya mobilize ya ye ni appropriation say ye be spend it because PFM in ma it was about 5 billion cedis eno nka be $9 billion no ho asem omo ba bem bi say omo ba ye no omo ensweepu sika e wo all ministries departments and agencies anko back into a single treasury account no mo nti enye no kre say ye njawom buffers buffers and no mankasa so esan se na ye no mankasa so san bo besia kakra kan because revenue no e masse na no mo hwehwe no to mbo besia ka no mo de service obligation and only ade aban bia ye but masem ne say we spend it all time say we dey be propaganda ti aban na wa besia kona u betu weni no na time aso na won deliver our promises are we ye no.
Will it be propaganda now say making the people understand situation
propaganda I mean sure when u cut budget imu
yes.
There's a lot of false accounting. No say enema be 4 na was a finance minister. Na ye bono kokose oba no ombedi hu no kre. Ba ko ye growth figures no. Nti say odu ho na obre no ntumi nka. Later no agi to mu say 5.7%. Ba ko ye the size of the Ghanaian economy. Ye kra na target 1 trillion. Ebroso 1.2 trillion.
Yes.
Ba ko ye say economy na do 1.2 trillion dia. Nene ye canon in sunsun so at because a debt over GDP, debt to GDP ratio. Enti obe say the new debt to GDP ratio is 61.8%. Abra in this Vovia Bemumja is 73 point something, almost 74%. Enti say 61.8 a criminally managed 61.8 enye dia na ne 74 na omdi jaye no eno say na be describe no. So it's not about say open say an attempt to some person who paint a black magana for so say ya nyehwe eno no my false accounting be o budget ni so call appendices 3A now they compare 2A on say Ghana national accounting you kwan ya fa so national accounting ye nyina ye nim wo hwe finance o my template no I am a fiscal affairs department for template ye use you kwan ya fa so eje etum say abind you bika me wa say na ko fan nsuo gallon 6 bc say me no ni contract say brabe supply me nsuo na so ko fan nsuo gallons be 6 bc na only chief director ne kasa enti wa supply nsuo enti abind no ka ye kwan ya fa so a contract e wo Ghana Public Procurement Authority Public Financial Management Act any ye kwan ya fa so ya contract a fully due say ye be tuaka no yedi kogu gift misinimu which is the accounting system I bear multimedia po moye company me buy me hu se mo revenue management software na boss ro hey ene ye mo company anka Ghana nti Ghana ye gift miss ayede adwuma gift misinimu no there's nowhere akwa bi obe supply in 6 gallons obetumi aka se ye de ne ka ne age aka ho. Nesan say
without a contract
and without a proper liability on government. Esan say any ano NDC for person mu cookie books no. E money look say ya manage economy ye no call appendix 2A on the expenditure side. But so maybe create new line be omo friend no other outstanding expenditure claims. No dey almost 50 billion abeshawo.
Other outstanding expenditure claims. 50 billion. And Omun show BBA to justify the
fact, details now say unreleased claims 49.2 billion. And tell no out here at all say omo buy no maybe say bisa ministries no na ministries ne say inkofobi say the do omkante omagigi ni na abom. First of all, omo my aging analysis we no cre afoli due no akukuru ni na abom. Nti afi or they no adjust figures na no say ya boka you make a loss. Meanwhile, two things and betray no ewo accounting ni mo. Back on say ukwa say ho a say ba we nyina yen audit ye. In fact, and now in his speech now saying nti afi na ye ba be den ye be audit. Now auditing we ya why do you adjust national accounts with unaudited claims and based on that say the deficit on commitment basis is way larger than it's supposed to be. Now they know what where you nyuma wo na ma woto. Eno your first one I betray no. Second one I betray no ne say uko appendix 3A. Eno your 2025 allocations now. Say ampa wo say you dey 49 billion now.
You should make provision.
You should make provision for it. So to me to us 49 billion no money free ho. Uko appendix 3A now. The only amount that he pays for arrears clearance is 13 billion. That's the only amount that he pays. Into 49. Uti 13 fimwa sebeka balance. Intinka by 2026 no. U follow appendix 3A na. 2026 medium term expenditure framework. Now we see who balances no. Say okay inti akasi ubete. Ube say all of a sudden magic. Zero.
No balances.
No balances.
Meaning, say that 13 billion is supposed to clear Canada.
It cannot. But it betrays you, say, 49 a phantom. In fact, 13, no, it accrues to old arrears, and on the admitted arrears, by that time. Ubo says, our line now we're creating zero. Balance BMPO, Hobio. And he say, oh, yeah, I deal way to yourself. Say wo de no painti en black a ube wie no kran nsunsun so on beba wa also because afi ubon say medium term fiscal program now and emba no like I've demonstrated to you. Number 2 na chese opeso kacha IMF for say ye breachy program no na o kacha IMF say na IMF ombambe inspect you na finance minister una all responsibility say obebo Ghana position no ho ban what I say IMF ombambe kancha say ye breachy on only accounting formula you should hear we see from the beginning till now. Obeba April. Onu has say who wako announce of parliament say ye breachy. Ye breachy out here say. commitments Crampo development partners they be mind they are supporting with budget or revenue and grant projection no omo fe mind ye breach here domestic debt in fact not just domestic general debt exchange program reliefs are yenya yahihye ne ade nyina no it doesn't apply you can say to yourself can I want to meet into propaganda no it has no value. It has no value. Why would the finance minister of Ghana be the one to be putting these figures in to create an impression, say, you're overspending, and then you can't even justify it in your subsequent years. Now, if it's yes, it will show. Meet you halfway down the line. And it is not true, say, the situation is as bad as they want us to believe. The truth is that economy, no, revenue, business, boy, outturns number 1.2 trillion, 5.7% year-on-year growth. Debt to GDP swatted to 61.8%. One last thing, so I'm poor as an ebitio. Nkasa 49 way. Senke no krea. Ye ko ye national debt stock ni mua 700 something million na. E wo say e ko kan ho. And to me anko kan ho.
Anko kan ho.
And ono agi to mu say unaudited claims. Why? Enti zanema we wo yes opesa yiro ho na de justify na de blame MPP aban e besin call ye wo be una time na so na won focus on adwuma opesa ye na da me ka so parliament me ka say habit bi o ho from 1966 ye obi be ku wi a no blame and the corruption of the previous and the one mismanagement na de was no ye no nyu obi win power from 2000
yes
obi focus on successive presidents they bia na e blame the past and also ya catch us saying we will put it at the disposal of this new administration. Say, wow. There was a lot of time for spending here na mahama ese. After a while, the Ghanaian was like, fix it, deliver. Propaganda way, any false accounting way, so they be creating impression we know. And no increase juma. In any case, page 84 for new budget here. A Jumana and which is one of the issues we'll come to later. I mean, kind of paragraph 84 in show. Paragraph 84 of the budget. And I'll show you the men's rear into the Pamon Kofo fee. Paragraph 84 under compensation of employees.
Yes.
Page 84, paragraph 478. Coming. Also in 2025, government will implement the following measures to keep the wage bill within sustainable levels. Number one, they will fully implement the net freeze on employment by immediately putting on hold all recruitment, replacement into the public service. Given that the recent realignment and collapse of some MDAs has brought about surplus labor, in this regard, there will be no extension of contracts for all public officers except in education, into bracket universities, which will be capped and done within budgetary constraints.
But is the net freeze not a consequence of the IMF program? For which reason one would say there net freeze has been there to one or more to us.
Now say the year 2024, they were under IMF program. We still made financial clearance available and recruited thousands of young people. Because, and now this is where the men's rear shows, because no munim dia ombabe say omuntumi resisika entua an additional group of young people. Contrary to promises I know my say mensuro yebe kipu we adwumanim to abama ne yeba adwuma na yebe fa nkofo ye kra be fa nkofo mienu abeka ho na ye 24-hour economy adwuma baako nkofo miensa 3 cycles so said then because they knew they can't do it no. And you know, mobile no fa koti kwan so say yam pamo safo we mu nyina mfrim na ye create artificial vacancies inti no ofanko for be shemu a entra net threshold no. Are you seeing the men's right here? That was the reason for which because also pamo for ye farm after 7 December, which is not correct anyway, because after 7 December, according to Felix Kwachi Fosu, 2016 December Abaino wo akwenya so fanipa up until 6th of January.
Yeah.
Okay. But yemfa ne say na mo asesa mo adwin timo mo pamo. Ba ne say na nkofo a ye adwuma fiti August, April, some even a year earlier. Mo pamo mo nyina afim. Ye kan mo say oma backdating letters. Into obi ya backdating a letter between HR no we adwuma mo any nipa kro no. Any staff we adwuma mo nyinara. Any controller and accountant general. any clients ne contractors are almost serve wo mum nyina conspire so be twan tro sa kwa no ye fan after 7 December ne backdating a letter 9 months and now 1 year ade. But it was because they knew say omohwe adwuma na de nim na they will not be able to generate enough revenue to give financial clearance to recruit some more. The thousands of NDC youth are no nam on the street are yeah pa so ya boy home de yin wie pay baby aka my opportunity my enko anim said that they knew said they will not be able to create fiscal space to recruit some more in the public service. And untino, the only way out was to get rid of these people, create artificial vacancy. Na omo de no afa omo nkofo ni bi di ahyem. Anope me hwe emrantie na say why year or so. Afi o say omo be launch app.
Yeah, app me no back on.
Na ba ko ahwehwe employers na ba ko ahwehwe employees na try amacho. And only adwuma on promise the young people no. Menyini. Enti just to sum up on this point, economy no, the outlines are clear. The data is settled. Say diaka and say NDC 4 years na do manim no. Results be den na they are compare near who say so one pass the omo fire on no kra na nya no kra say they compare na omo ye ni yie ebro ye de no so a say Ghana na ewuni na mebo yes e honor say ye not really litigating the record of the MPP government which is now settled.
Into the focus of this budget, so the finance minister said or share the reality of the Ghanaian economy, or share the IMF program, and or share almost social contract with the Ghanaian people. And he said, the budget will a budgeter, a heavy on expenditure measures and cutting down the waste. In over here, for example, some popular programs beyond that mono. Omocha so much any nyina nti omocha you start omocha Ghana cares or batampe omocha coastal belt development, northern belt and middle belt this anyo many nyina no idea omocha to make sure say they would push. And again Enra, I think the great minister made this point, say how much they are projecting to spend against inflows or more expected there would be a deficit based on which so we break it down, share emolument, sika, ebeko into salaries, emolument, or share the ebeko into payment of arrears on loans. The ebeko omode more airborne minor hobrano, a little over 50 billion. Ain't it really almost said there any space? In the also more allocations strategically, and no now my edi ababe to Ghana for any no.
Mamin dealing with the first claim of expenditure cuts,
yes,
and waste cuts,
yes,
and no crap.
How
budget no ye wo their other one no cans the speech on the floor
and they were detailed with
any award their friend of fiscal tables e hona said they wo kan ye no kra
e wo
ye be hu se ukofa oba betena fie now catch and say odo me do me toka ma bosumi bia me ma 20,000 cedis so the one na
yes
okay se bosumi ne so na transfer na e call ni mumu no so and the bank account no mo e 4,000 ubetumi de wano adada
no
bosumi ne beso na car BNC car park ubetumi de wano adada no ti budget ne sa na tie ubetumi de wano aka se odo me do me ma 20,000 a month me toka ma na ye checki ye account balance na e be hu se 5,000 e be hiti ya na se car no buy number nti ma specific we see expenditure catch we say expenditure cuts.
Yes.
The Yemfa global picture, the big picture. 2025. Abina now say abina spend this kadudu. Into uba ubetisono. Ne appropriation of the bar parliament. Our parliament appropriating man ne 250 billion cedis.
Yes.
And no na Dr. Baumiaka say it was say a cut 3% of GDP if free so. 3% of GDP. We have math now. 1% of GDP be about 10 billion cedis. Into 3% is 30 billion.
Yes.
Into 250, you get 30 billion fiswa. That's about 220.
Yes.
Into here, but time a manifesto. You call UPSC outlining your policy measures. Manifesto. Can you say I'm a vice chairman on the manifesto committee?
Yes.
See, I have this data at the tip of my fingers. 250 no. Uti 30 fi mebeka 220. And you can say, however, to make up for delivery no. Yeah, the Burma private sector normal handles are 30 no any potential growth. Then we'll cut the taxes and cut the borrowing. na ama fiscal framework na abano but ebe consolidated NDC ba bemu ode ne budget ba enra no unim sika obesre
291
na obi misra wati fo nyina o my mathematics o school obi spend 250 now so obe katia 291 does it look like a cut? Ndina me kasa obetumi de wano aka se mema 20,000 okohwe account no man obi hu se wo man 20,000 and man 5,000 until when you go into the appropriations see 290 cut no way. Mami ma a few specific ones. One of the best examples unya kapom si o mahama bae no wate number of ministers so wate presidential staffers so and then ansana me wo GH1 TV abrantie no interview me no Joshua and only ne ye odi ma me so wate presidential staffers so budget na fina abanti afina ye domo so ko eno na nyina na ye da ho a ye ko into the numbers semede ko appendix 4A of the budget ubehu the friend no ministries departments and agencies expenditure allocation administrative sector hona ubehu office of government machinery ukai say ye wa ba mu ye ro okujeto ablakwa na ye press conference na abansika 300 million Jubilee House omudi 300 million satam here 8 agencies
under the office of
government machinery and Ukraine your budget here 327 million
a year
for the last year.
Yes.
And number and almost your matiso. Into the papa mo ayate so na also won say budget na yeden. Abafom. Me mfa won call the total budget. Me de obeko compensation pe. Baby ana yen spend 327 million for 8 agencies no. Omo no budget 2.7 billion.
2.7
billion. Compensation of employees. Me too many much office of government machinery, of which OGM headquarters and agencies 2,711,100,839 cities.
That's just compensation.
Cut no way. Only said 300 million. No, Indu 500 million.
Yes.
500 million. Obo 5 times and when you're 2.5 billion. Unim the number of agenda hospitals are way between see. Only the number of banks are 2.7 billion between me see. And I've mentioned that General one and banks because I'll come to that one. But even the last point, a lot of the NDC young people are more pay juma or munye juma still. And yet just the job. Say I buy so on fanko for jumem. But I buy no so on fanko for jumem no. We increase or more compensation at Jubilee House from 300 million to 2.7 billion. Your math no na the percentage increase.
The 8 agencies under the office of government that's all.
Say I got 4.
I got 4 agencies.
4 agencies.
Which one?
I can get you the list.
Okay.
I got 4 agencies. Say 2.7 billion. How do you explain this as a cut? How do you explain this as a cut? You go into the numbers. Ubehu niyama bi brom de atete o budget no. Enti the first argument say you reduce expenditure. Me see the global picture 250 as against 290.
Yeah.
O pese ohun ye pa bra office of government machinery from 320 to 2.7 billion. Nti cut be anyhow. Hwe information ministry. Say one of the a year called office of government machinery.
Yes.
Me wo information ministry. And that year budget on the floor of parliament. Son on the me catch Felix. Felix. Nipa na information ministry 76 staff no one pamo a civil servants. Omo na na describe on budget no say surplus into yem fanipa. Pamo ti obi abege na ketua. Number 2, budget na ye wo se de ye adwuma wo ho sa bre 6 million cedis.
And I'm not allocating my information ministry.
Government communication budget for the whole 12 months 6 million cedis. And now budget is 78 million cedis.
For why?
Government communication with Jubilee House. Felix Nishamima, 78 million cedis.
Sir, the agencies are still under them.
Agencies.
Said your name say ISD1, the Information Ministry, and Ghana Publish, and all those agencies. No, they will still be under the Minister of Government Communications.
ODT.
Okay.
Mamin granto wenupo.
Okay.
What I say?
Okay.
Me research na me no. Me news aside. But let me grant you say, eno yampa. Na se empo eno yampa. Hwe say almost creative line almost say 50 million for research.
For research under why?
Under Office of Government Machinery.
50 million
cedis
for research.
Obina the American office me boana. And new 2025.
Yes.
Administration Office of Government Machinery any research 50 million. They call research. Unim sika omode ato for Women's Bank no.
Yeah, that's 51 or so.
And my bank omoko around the country a campaign say be bank amagana ma munya gidi oyemu. Mahama is the hope. And now person will be a banker who have 400 million capitalization.
Yes.
Who has 400 million now? Sika would be man and Kasamai. Would you find say won't be branches in across the country until would be 16 pe. And no crying papa about 16. Now catch or bad or once and say this or fuck back for you and son or baby yes can be. Let's just use that. 16 branches. And some of operational expenditure, staff, electricity near Dinina. Yeah, modeling who here less than 1.5 billion.
Sir, among can't tell the kind of bank or baby.
How many types of banks are there in Ghana?
Sir, among can say universal bank.
Bisau.
Minimum capital.
Lawyer Philip Osebunsu, Ghana bank types are here.
Ain't apart from universal banks, you will rural banks. No, maybe. And you will microfinance
institutions. Microfinance in your bank.
No, but share
at 9:30.
Yes.
Or say banking and specialized deposit. Banking it has its meaning. A rural bank, you classify as part of. Now, I don't know who call campaign one country man say will be a rural bank.
And a microfinance.
And a microfinance. And a savings and loans. So be a Nyankwala Nkrumah who promise you one bank.
Women's Development Bank.
Now where you 51 million for bank. Now the 50 million according to Jubilee House all the year research. 50 million for Jubilee, 2.7 billion. And as I say now, I don't want to spend too much. So be catch us on my katia. Catch and say, be expenditure no more. And yet, no, the car say, or don't talk amount. No, mama, 20,000. Me no chiro baby a cat no. Or true for say, me that's the deal. When you budget to, where a budget presented to Parliament by Dr. Cassiel Atto-Forsyth MP, Minister for Finance, on the authority of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana. And you may budget. It is no say wakatia on figures. No, on figures. No. But so we are not catch out say there is no space.
Yes.
Anything on my allocations, no, Mature say first of all, it's not true. Because our space are the 2.7 akoshe baby, or the 50 akoshe baby. Why increasing your money be? We are not catch said there's no space. Bisane say, why na force no? Say some of these expenditures, no?
Yes.
Make it. Are they not cutting like we said? Say, be cutting these expenses. Nemum revenue kakro binyano. Or the other things in here. Also social interventions. Micro list be what I say. A list of 273 economic promises. I'll be on NDC manifesto anymore. 273 economic promises.
Where economic promises means what?
Promises are a and so on the economy. Mejuma as ranking member of the economy. The
example here, the example of such promise near day.
Or say they are going to strengthen regulation of state-owned enterprises to reduce contingent liabilities. Or say they are going to prioritize capital investments over consumption-related expenditure in the utilization of borrowed funds, which is not true, by the way, because social figures, that's not what they have done. Or say they are going to implement an economic transformation agenda underpinned by structural reforms anchored on promoting modernized agriculture, agribusiness, and value addition. 24-hour economy in our 273. And now budget on the buyer. Yet now one agenda you mojumano. The ayehu so far a woman in Rule 25.
Economic promises no?
25.
The budget we deliver no in Rule 25.
They are so far a home in Rule 25. You are publishing in a na se obi hu be fufro mu yen hu draw your attention. 25 in Rule 25. Now here's my point. Enti wo promises are why o manifesto are why. Se no wo masika nkom wo men hia wo prioritize it. Now other things like this and I will prioritize here. 1 year na ebesin akoyo. So you say last year it's an election year.
Yes.
Today say effectively account 2 active years of work. And until you catch them so mama propaganda and conform. Na omumfa omo governance documents we embrani and no buy or say Adia omu jina so ayo omu manifesto pa 24-hour economy document no. Or the beba
later. But or say beba in due course, but they have to review or amend 2 laws. The Labor Act and the GIPC Act.
Only why we don't buy that. Amendment ni later. Sa budget you the policy no ba first. Yaji policy ni tum wia now the amendment bill na ba. Ora guzi tambe na ya appointed no. January.
Yeah, January.
March muni away. Policy document no way. This is a policy who campaign across the country. This is a policy okay so manifesto launch no more clock be crowd BC or said this is the 24-hour. So it is not a new idea to you. Abisi policy document no my senka wodi aba ene yehwe ma ebetumi crampa bo as a parliament say ebia ade nka mo masika ko ha mo a enkebeboa. But the principal policy documents omo here for governance no my empo na wahu say ha na o say priorities no ko enu nti no okoye budget ba obo se scanner ko hye wrong places na fi baby e wo say out of the 273 promises unim say nka wo ye pro rating nka every year be afa ne say 68 no they are so far ye hu emro 25.
But they would also tell you say na more big ticket campaign promises. Of course some of the economic promises now will list here, you know. Ebinom ye enye de obehia sika per se now there. Some of them ye policy decisions also will take and all of that. But the obehia sika
in budget allocation document we dey be ameba me catch us say economic policy and budget.
I get it.
Enti policies there won here sika crampo no there one kasa wa dia to say in the 2025 program obey na me catch us say in
yeah, I get you.
Yeah, enti enye sika ho asem ne.
Very well. But na me hwe the ubehia some capital ediama aba into fruition no they will tell you say they've made specific allocations for those projects and the budget is clear on Neoma or Mobeshedi Sika Ashim. Let me get the exact place no nafe yem fan one by one.
Oh, I saw Sir Felix Posti list
in the 2025 allocations to key policy initiatives and interventions.
Me who said Felix Posti.
Yes, on put na or share the allocations are called ministries, department, agencies, plus some of these specific initiatives. But they tell you here, say, one thing I'm promising Ghana for was the setting up of the Gold Board. Oma budgeted $279 million CD equivalent. Omo can say big push program. Oma budgeted 13.85 billion.
Yeah.
Omo can no academic fee policy. If I say no fees stress policy. 499 million Ghana cedis. Omo can sanitary parts 292 million. Omuka so ombeboa victims of Akosombo Dam spillage 242 million. Omoshe Nansea Diabawa Gov't 200 million. And others. I mean, get fund realignment omobeye on cap and and all of it. You could see say for the specific campaign promise Ghana Fujina so etwa bama wono. They've made allocations for them.
And I make a choice so far. O compare manifesto no 273 to we say in 25 okay. But for no to change Isaac Adongo on enemy dancing.
Yes.
Isaac Adongo say so what say a budget na ya bobo allocations to we say your friend audio money nyame na mekan
Isaac
Adongo chairman of the finance committee or say audio money sika wati o wasum me from my experience about 7 years in government as a minister and about 1 year as a deputy minister. No, yeah, allocation we more injustice can the amount because first of all, also buying mobilize taxes no,
and sana
wakwakoche expenditure and advance of appropriation na no revenues wo many allocations wo, but since buying to me mobilize this kind of for various reasons in Tino. Abino had to resort to a lot of borrowing.
Yeah.
Sabri amino kase. This week on call market in borrow ebia Friday no beko. But as last week they know borrow over 70 billion Ghana cedis.
Largely from treasury bills.
In fact, from treasury bills. Because we need access to the international capital markets. 70 billion. As 70 billion no. Allocations are also in crampo. And so because revenue mobilization also mobilizing or man and I'll come to revenue. You better about revenue. Or man in inko huye. Me from my experience in government, we're head of agency. Ne catch or say allocation.
Yeah, into for example
200 million for
200 million
sanitary pad.
Sure.
I don't go say audio money. Nyamenam kai. Isaac, I don't go say audio money. You mobilize this kind of mawa to wadrim. Untumi nyahwe. Nti to wadrim. Nti hono krampo dey. I will not even go into that one. But I mean, can
show intent. Say
they want to deliver. Me say obi show intent. Abai show intent. The sweetness of the pudding
is in the eating.
Maminko Gold Board. Gold Board no. First of all, for a policy document to be by.
Yes.
And I know you're part of the problem. You see, Ebani say now or say 300 million approximately to the Gold Board. I don't want 400 million or 200 million. When I catch and say 300 million. When I can. Or my internal work be. And on my decide so here $300 million for Gold Board. I then as a policy document won't firm my parliament. And my parliament in your opportunity and enkase 300 and so here 500.
Yeah, but I'll say it will come.
You are putting the cart before the horse. And until now, Article 36(5) of the Constitution, or so we are campaign we now we near. Or campaign document 273 economic promises. No, FACO NDPs in converting into their friend a coordinated program for social and economic policies. Then no now they are by budget. Now this is kana tayechiri. Into by the time into years Obekaya Professor Jambafo, they be a Michiana my friend the Winchi Water Project. Or not the core parliament. You win here no ukruche the core parliament. So that if budgets are ebano, consequent on that one.
Yes.
Inti say obi ped the policy underpinnings and the policy coherence between the awoka and this kind of crowd manner or coordinated program of social and economic policies. No? By the way, and this is buying say person form Gold Board.
Yes.
Now because I'm for policy documents name by anything no ye be speculate. Gold Board nejumani say obe to gold at a price that they will determine. Now I export gold no. Now or no make a differential on it for Ghana. Ye ni policy document into the attitude from interviews. I'm saying Samiba have crab kasa good. Into sa speculation we na ye dey hear because ye final document no. Aye. Now first of all, gold one man na to export to Ghana. Private export companies. Does it mean say Gold Board never private export companies we na be good?
No.
At
least from what Sami said, no. They would license new people. I just said for the buying, no, they would license gold buyers.
That's a gold buyers, the PMMC airlines and gold buyers.
Sure.
Make export.
Yes, exports or see bullion guys na export.
Yes.
They can no longer do it. Even if they would do, they have to partner the Gold Board.
What it means is be good private gold export industry, no.
He didn't say it categorically as you're saying it.
Well, I'm telling you.
Okay.
First of all, document in my but this is what it looks like. If not, for document in okay, put that aside. Apart from a new gu or export side hono. Gold nankasano. Omo na private for moto gold exporting no. Enya buying a momska. Abayisi kenim.
Yes.
Abra Bank of Ghana started gold purchase program. I started gold for oil. BDCs near there and come DCDs be bass or more per dollar no. Om the bar near the to gold. Near the gold na kwa exchange for oil. Intinya buying sika near there. Nipa no say adie we nye nti o cancel. Now what resetting it to papa no. And now say or the taxpayers money $300 million and or they be my Gold Board say Gold Board in fenko to gold. Now export it. Adie na yemfa buying sika na ye.
Yeah, but so they are buying sika, yeah, what is wrong with that?
Because a buying sika no. Nyo na nka chem say space in him. Na niema cry a pese ye no ye nye scam fenye.
Yeah, but what amount the end game what he expects the Gold Board to do for the economy. Okay.
A buying sika ketwa na wo ho no see space in him.
Yes.
Enti priorities are promising man on bank no be more 50 million 51 million cedis.
Yes.
Niema bebre awaka mu 25 pen na wetumi enya ehun policy and fiscal space aye because space ni so. Space ni so no. Ade a na yemfa ban sika na ye. Se say wakofe no abehye aban budget mu say ubeyi $300 million edi ama gold board so omunko ya dia first na yemfa ban sika enye who crowd out fiscal space no a lot more.
Who your finance minister na wabo pro ako makolajum one ma be 10 ena edi nkomo e ma 10 ni nyina ka kire so mo number 1 problem eye seed ne dollar nkita hodie ene ahoden a seeds no eni na wonim se one anchor I betimi ama wo seed ne ho ayeden ene adwuma gold board ebe ya amount ashore up reserves ama wo seed ne nya ahoden a na me dia ban sika be achieve the number 1 problem ami traders who make my money identify what's wrong with that.
Can you find another way ubetumi di gold exporters nankasa sika fund the purchase of gold other than using taxpayers money? For example, India for any one for ya Ghana babeto gold. So mo ba nyom sa pan nom de ba.
Sure.
Omo be taxpayers money nom de akoto gold. Omo de sika ba. Is there not a mechanism where omo betumi di sika ubetumi license so you know omo do sika bro. Now this is kana to gold no. Na rather what they are exporting. Other than we taxpayers money. 300 taxpayers money now yenya 1.5 billion enye bank no mamba no. Taxpayers money now yenya 2 billion big push ni ahe 10 billion.
$10 billion.
Who divided 10? Who divided 10 by 4 ahe?
That should be 2.5.
2.5.
Yes.
Into who prorate enka big push na infrastructure project and nebema akwan ni other infrastructure abem nka fie bi anye bia no 2.5 billion roughly.
Yeah, but this year 13 billion Ghana cedis.
Into $1 billion po. It's $800 million dollars. Into $1 billion po. Into other na big push no. Yen to nya 2.5 billion dollars. Emma na rather no prioritization yebenya $300 million ama gold boards ade ananka yemfa ban sikanye nti who show priorities nti se me wo fa betna na o ka kire o say omu ye budget ni wie ni space ni so enu nti na niema aka na omu nye sika ma o man pacha o ka kire ni say because omu no ma select omu priorities so omu priorities ye gold board on priorities ye 2.7 billion office of government machinery. On priorities, 78 million government machinery. On priorities, and on mass setting on my locate sika to it. Senke yade ankasa niema we a priority to them one. Kabibi to say gold board. Omo de buyers ni sika na be funded the purchase of gold.
Yeah, but why would government in dealing with the number 1 problem I identify with the economy? Take the path say me destiny kwa private person be ensem when I know say
export
if I am able to fix this problem
exporter now the man no say unfenche no obeto
sure
good take his money up front more so when the buyers know said there's a government entity that is credible that is going to be the one exporting you will get their money. And when your friend we meet say only on my heading commercial financial engineering what is 6% I could do 4% ye monse mananya no cre. Oka financial engineering pa. Financial engineering is not when you take $300 million of taxpayers' money now to substitute for the affairs and your taxpayer and and then rather no baby ana ye was 6% threshold what is about 4% I will say no near financial engineering. I respectfully submit to you that is not it. Financial engineering is where you decide say even a dear crampana pressures ne da aban so no ube alleviate pressures ne fi aban so. Mema bibi to say housing. One of the problems in housing funding. So housing minister be out to one train finance minister so be most kase koye housing and until financial engineering was when we went to Gov't and say yen set up a Gov't housing fund. Na development finance institutions to say shelter Afrique, Afrexim Bank, can form si can betum and your taxpayers' money. Now project banner estimating a project near bankable. Ya says can a project ni we are project number more better. Ya discana ya kwakutia loan no nan faso da kakani at any friend financial engineering. Financial engineering is not where enkofo fi India do msika beto gold or Ghana ko. Na se a buying say or no bedia inti a buying edge taxpayers money 300 million say or no the beto gold no the command for no India.
But when you want to regulate a space, I am messy all over the place. In him say, even tracking gold, gold free anymore call a basa, the echo through smuggling, a bebre, ye enshada in who ye actual gold echo. Now a buying set out, say, I want to clean up this space.
Well, anyway,
I want to regulate this space.
I won't argue much about it.
The government sikana area.
I won't argue much about it.
Which will give me even a bigger result.
And I'm saying I won't argue much about it. Anyway, I buy the priority. Okay. I'm only showing say I had no priority in here. Any money there so in here I say
gold
no problem. Now, mamin chawa there bakwa.
Very well.
Now a lot of young people person better or budget in him. Yeah, coalition, one of the biggest issues was cost of living.
Yeah, cost of living, sure.
Food inflation.
Yes.
Fuel price cost.
Yes.
Energy prices are cost. Interest rates.
Yes.
Are never together to affect cost
of living.
I mean for fuel. And now to say finance minister Kase Bosumi mi ense bia ye beto and I say be adjusted.
Fuel bono.
Well, first let me deal with energy.
Okay.
Ote so say Bosumi mi ense bia be adjusted. Ote the simple fact is say nature say obi a no hwe anim say enyinam nkane ndisi for the year campaign say enyinam nkane abo okosoro na chesa ban trimu de MPP aban trimu de o matimi anya hwe no ene owura force nse memo aso nte say Bosumi mi ense bia no ye be adjusted electricity bills. More often than not, 90% are adjustment now, upward adjustment.
Emma form.
Nti was 7 notice say utility bills will go up every quarter. And now so no sign so to gas prices mo. What here?
No.
Oh. Maybe share text ni mama. And no to gas prices mo. No be baby say na ba ne say na finance minister to gas prices mo. Na gas prices they dey no nyama you or more air gas no adwuma momentum because MPP aban na ma subsidy on gas industrial gas no mo dey enyinam nkane no na ma subsidy economy no mo say criminally managed na neska ni ho no na ye pesika e dey subsidize gas and this aban say we ye fi ho eno nti no gas prices
in the spirit of cutting down expenditure
no problem say priorities
yes
until say we ye fi ho until say gas prices gas prices na no would dey be affected independent power producers on the gas and they produce power. And not only will the prices be adjusted quarterly, the rate of adjustment is going to be higher. Because they say subsidy are not buying the gas no. We hear fuel. Subsidy are not MPP they are buying the gas price no. We hear fuel. Ne question a few baby say when say inti cost of living and e complaining e say name more dey person ba from budget we does it show you say cost of living e ba from an cost transport fares say fuel need there two things now exchange rate component and our pricing component exchange rate component you try say the gold for oil beso an we buy also wa cancel we gold board no fair my e whole legislation crown fair my won krata na ba ni na wo no problem. Global market they want to control the prices no.
Yeah.
Into transport fares na beba for man na ebe cost. Food inflation. You know na me tie about food program no. Me offer Erikopoku, me offer papa, me penasem papa because on why politics are check on him how to mix technical, local other issues. Me admire no, man kana me otrofo. Utie ni vetia or say the omu ye nyina no pese translate into food security. Food security e wonema me no 2 pillars back we availability
of the food
and at the career price MPP buy planting for food and jobs one planting for food and jobs too
yes.
The year any say ema aduane no production ne cost but there were 3 problems: porous borders, transportation from the farm gate to the market centers, and I want to mean regulatory price I will be the ton of tomatoes. In the end no despite saying you pump millions into food production under PFG. Ye kasa about the production of food the fi ha ba ha say me bet now ha me catch on keka on den. Obeko market no na duane bo na ekosro na ekofo.
Na ekosro.
Yeah. Tigana for catch and say ya ti planting for food and jobs, one planting for food and jobs but kenke bo no say yete. Ne bo na ekosro nti ato abetiam. Dia abine the beto parliament and nora. Me bisaw we a lawyer, we a centurion, BATO. And then the woman controlling food inflation. Is it just the production input? And I said the expected increase in production.
Honorable Eric Opoku said, medium to long term, feed Ghana project. And no more be encourage say obi enya garden one in feature
Operation Feed Yourself.
Operation Feed Yourself kind of project. Buying ebema seedlings on be farmer service centers ne sa nyama ne de aboa e de aboa.
Na say farmer service centers ye ne friend AMSEC, agric mechanization centers. Enya de foforo. So buy your car na machines near the go and no de any different any foforo. Enti real problem no budget we need it hasn't addressed it. So you can forecast say food inflation is not coming down. Because borders issue no what's over transportation from farm gate to a man or kofaba the beato what's this what to me regulatory prices no. And so it's not just the increase in output. Yeah, you see niama yesu baby you fail you are bemokran. You be can openly na Ghana so man yesu bibi won. The problems are contributing to food inflation, post-harvest issues, no.
Budget that doesn't resolve.
But
how about the fact that one thing so my cost of living ecosro, the raft of tax measures I are by introducing, and they've told you say, Omomo target was to scrap some of these taxes. A man for complaining about businessmen are complaining, individuals are complaining, e-levy, emissions tax, one budget. Majority that they believe will go a long way in reducing cost of living.
Theory near correct, sir. So we taxes and answer the constraints on the economy.
Yes.
Economy will constraining into mean grow fast.
Yes.
Growth no so na di human scanning the beba. It's as much as possible. In fact, from Reagan more time near the no. Say try to deregulate.
Yes.
Now release the constraints on the economy. Now the productive edge of people will come up into be producing. The theory near correct. And unti MPP about be mo be kaya 2017 your budget abolished 17 taxes. And na ewie na oni o ma hedi nkomo se abozo kan for crampo na omobosi yeah ye 17 taxes no so we tax data na tax to GDP ratio it move from 11% to 13%. 200 basis points.
Yes.
Internet say I translate even into more revenue am I.
FM.
Apart from no economy ni mo high no 2017 2018 2019 average growth 7%. Meanwhile ye beto 3.4. I say average growth 97%. In theory, near correct. And last time I tested a year juma. Senka sana minia forcing ato kesel a year ya. Enka Ghana Statistical Service, ne Finance Ministry, ne Bank of Ghana for her data. No come back and say obe grow by 9%. Benye sa no ye yenti no mo hwe no say growth no so beti about 4.4% because some mommy economists. Omo hwe document ni mo no. Me catch say ya hwe data no. Omo hwe data no mo say akoye de brofo BTA. Mami fa unkom.
Taxes no the brofo BTA.
Oh the brofo BT mo.
Sempa FM.
Enra or announce say 6 taxes say wa abolish.
Yes.
Until we hear pro NDC media networks now my artwork the 6 taxes that have been abolished. Yankum. Emissions levy.
Yes.
Withholding tax on lotto.
Yes.
VAT on motor insurance.
Withholding tax on lotto, aka betting tax.
Remember how? Maybe 6 and say make
okay.
Gov't,
yeah.
e-levy, 1.5 withholding on gold exports.
Yeah.
Those were the 6 major taxes.
Yes.
Also,
you added Gov't?
Yeah. Oh, would you share artwork now almost share? No, there's a
where your mom artwork now? Okay.
Almost 6. Okay. Emissions levy, withholding tax on lotto, VAT on motor insurance, Gov't, e-levy, 1.5 on withholding gold exports.
Okay.
Emissions levy, no crescem rano ya pass ye daho. But obie ni huwa obi to me, atenen in such a nyankopon him say, utuya emissions levy or Ghana.
Inti, with sa, we scrapping, or more scrapping the law, no, to repeal the law.
O se o pese, o create relief for Ghanaians.
Yes.
Now ye to be a Ghana ni no utuya
efriho. Okay.
Emissions levy nye to be a Ghana ni biya.
Zero rated for now.
Obi entua me nkambro for obi entua obi any multimedia fee has say obi to me akase otua emissions levy. It is a finance minister be kase taxes 6 first one emissions levy ahobrasiem onyi bibia mfiri ho because bibia ni ho e zero eda odi mra ne beba so obe scrap no.
Yes.
Public Financial Management Act say on chere fiscal impact ase chere se sika hin na yahwere until last year hin yenyae ubo se sada no be ansan se zero,
meaning say yen starting ye
yenya hwe wo ho yenye obia emissions tax,
but the law should go, it should not be there.
eda ho yen yusu ekwa interest relief biaba because ewo ho no kra yenye obia ho. And if you want to create the impression say where you relief be fig enter am say or the brofo you
Okay.
bibi any ho VAT on motor insurance. Check your last motor insurance away. And me free one insurance company say me pese me double show. VAT was one now. Also you run the ho bati enye. Aban nye obi antua. Until there's no relief there. And some are withholding tax on lotto and the cover confusion
Buy.
A buy.
What are you learning now? A dana.
You see, brofo no de na no kan no. Any the reality no different. The ordinary no kan no yen nyina yen tia se ne se or kan lotto withholding. National Lottery Authority for energy. Ubisa samia uku friend se se obeka cho. Yanje sa tax na da. And until you mean buy no. And also carry no san kan say also known as the betting.
In the specific law say, Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the 10% withholding tax on winnings from lottery, otherwise known as, quote, betting tax. Ain't winnings on lottery, you understand, and it's a different from omo sports bet, my bet,
send your can no, and I'll show you why it created confusion. I was say no be clear. Send your can no. Okay. Understanding a beto obi a chim ni say they are not yatwe ho manson National Lottery Authority they are yatwe ho manson back and forth na sami agina mu ama abayanje no. That's what he was referring to. Inti Amin Antabe say no, his argument was that say ade we na wo friend betting tax then is a betting tax no yanjeje. Of course, in fact, all kinds of Income Tax Amendment Act, say Act 1024 or 1094. I'll say me check it. Income Tax Amendment Act now taxes means there's a 10%, there's a 10% withholding, then there's a gross gaming revenue.
Okay, there's a first 10% on bet winnings.
Yes.
There's 10% withholding tax on lotto winnings.
Yes.
And you gross gaming. Your friend is saying gross gaming tax.
Yes. Act 1094 nimu.
Okay. In because now vice chairman of my manifesto committee.
Yeah.
Momo promises some best scrappy betting tana dear hin.
Tunina. Asemo anaye can say betting tax nankasa. Yes. In fact, utie Dr. Baumia's speech now refer tunina,
which is my bet ne sporty bet dear no.
Enobeko.
And a lotto dear
yes, just to get it off the books. Okay.
Nti
enra na asemo kan utie brofo no kan no no wie no say known as the betting tax na. Nti I mean can say nice tax we yenjije. Later be create all sort of a social media, no problem. But even more importantly, taxes are minister no why na adwen say oba be repealing na oba parliament no or liste
or the humra emra
paragraph 6 of the speech or Petroleum Revenue Management Act, Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, Minerals Income Investment Act, Energy Sector Levies Act, Ghana Cocoa Board Act, Earmark Funds Capping Realignment, Public Procurement Authority, Ghana Education Trust Fund, Fiscal Responsibility Act, Revenue. Nowhere did he mention say or the Income Tax Amendment Act 1094 beba. In the list into me and MSR na hobrasiem say onfen kan ho no femra nenye clear to obi say that is what he's referring to.
And you are saying say contrary to what he said or paragraph 141 say we will abolish the 10% withholding tax on winnings from lottery, otherwise known as the betting tax, the legislation and
one listian na the ma ye suspecting and say minia, and by the way I told minia pa madam for minia pa no. And I mean I'm happy for him, I respect where he's going to. Meaning in the bar join news PM Express debate say 2018 budget debate here a hono beka so no cry the betting anytime yem ban it. Don't increase the tax, ban it.
Yes. I watched that video.
Yes. Inti yen nyina say from a philosophical point of view, from an economic philosophy point of view, he is not one to say yen to us on your betting. Into the budget ni buy income tax amendment act 1094 enim no sign change brofo no we no de be share actually say otherwise known as a betting tax no you're very suspicious enunti na na mi dina we fidi so asre ne sa hobrasiem onfen ka ho
onfa sa
1094 no onfemra na yen repeal na enye clear said that is what he means.
And because mebunu ni bebre na 8 year no emra de betting tax ena withholding tax on lottery winnings and only income tax amendment
act of 2023 act 1094.
Okay, it is a okase chasa two tax handles ni free wa e was all this running back to parliament,
and in the list of emra or the buy and count and knowing his background say or no ofili say betting nankasa yem banning no ye suspicious. Also, because of tricks be our year, our taxes ni mo metre osesiano. And my year suspicious. Inti say no no peso year. Just like how we comment on femranya problem. You never talk about support it. Now, mama tell me ba
wedding na wa so omonya wedding ni.
Oh, we crop the speech one ye ye kram fa ho.
Okay.
Eye emra no. And also the bas ma catch us say what do one catch us ba say mama 20,000 meto come I no can you.
Okay.
The substantive pieces of legislation and now fiscal allocations, you know, and only here.
Okay.
Into the Unfamra Act 1094, yen repeal and yen amendment with a higher piece of legislation. I'm sure the last thing am I suspicious about some of these tax measures. First of all, Omaka says 6. Medical trial say emu 3. There are major questions about it.
3 of the taxes.
Emissions, ya can wasem.
Yeah, emissions, waka.
Apart from emissions, ya can motor insurance.
Yes.
And a third one is Masanachro say what he referred to Papa. In our understanding a luto dieno.
Okay.
Inti say no dia on femra.
Okay.
The other 3 are valid e-levy. I know they're quite clear.
Yes.
And a 1.5% withholding on gold exports are quite clear.
Okay.
And a COVID.
COVID.
All them saw monam for social media say COVID, and they did a lot of campaign and politics with COVID. Say na COVID ne ko I don't still yet COVID. COVID ko akufa do deni timo din pa MPP fa mu ye wicked. I don't still yet COVID. Na say ba umia gidi say COVID they say kwa any anim ya ofi UPS no onyin fi. Me ba join news na mbechire mu say oh ya budget na we are pass mra. On to me nyim fi o sa abre. I just say you see 2025 na ye budget for me kan hey guy out. Na yera Mahama date ben na yeswe ni in
7th January.
And date ya da ben?
And 12th March.
Na de no nyin free ho.
Eye COVID no.
Ai.
Say eye mra e ka VAT ho.
Na tama ba umia kan de na enye mra e ka VAT ho. Se mo hu. Say ade bi o wa ye kan o sesi abotre na propaganda na da nche na ye educate ye ho say ye mra e ka ho a senka yera ba sabre no minua to force in Bigina parliament be catch and say omo the private members bill beba no mo dia be ye fi ho kra say obi ehun say na politics na no mo ye oba ben mo fiti general be say na onyi ye ma me nchira despite the fact omo create impression say COVID omo be ye fi ho no uko paragraph I think 172 of the statement patch all copy a command where they say ye sorry we crisis say me quote I say ko paragraph 172. If I call 170, King James version call Chikaramami, the verse before. 170.
Okay, the paragraph 170. Very well.
And I know you know let Zoom calls.
And I went in about
paragraph 170, mommy.
Okay, let me get it here for you. Very well. In 170, or say, we have requested technical assistance from the Fiscal Affairs Department of IMF on VAT reforms. It is expected that the IMF mission will commence in April 2025. The recommendations for the technical assistance mission are expected to inform our VAT reforms. It is that paragraph 170. Mr. Speaker, 171. Mr. Speaker, ahead of the IMF technical assistance mission, I will inaugurate a VAT reform task force to hold broad consultations with key stakeholders for their inputs. Mr. Speaker, the parameters for the VAT reforms which will be completed this year will include abolishing the COVID-19 levy.
Shawa. Into who's asset now on abolish it.
There be on abolish.
Or see or bear consultation on the IMF bear consultation about VAT reforms.
Sure.
Now VAT reforms ni muneni so adi huni so nya or bear abolish it COVID.
Yeah, VAT reforms no would culminate in the abolition
as at
of,
now.
Yeah.
Or abolish it.
No, as at now the
Enti dia clear say we abolish it out of 6 and 2. Medical choice say 3 no. First 3 no. 2. Enya dia eje. Third one no problem we say obe clarify.
Yes.
And the last 3 we say COVID. Enye clear say we abolish. Or say obe consultation towards abolishment.
And he was clear say on abolish it.
Okay. No, but the nam say we abolish taxes 6 now. MPP ye be into omo ye be now my idea pa but me tumre no match see.
Okay.
Only copy of the budget in Kamitreo. Appendix
highlights na
Appendix 2A. Oko Appendix 2A 2024 out 10. Afia we say e-levy. Yenya no 2024 e-levy.
Asempa FM.
Yenya 2 billion Ghana cedis from e-levy.
E-levy alone.
Aye.
2 billion Ghana cedis.
Aye.
Okay.
Under a revenue line we call taxes on domestic goods and services. We say oko under total revenue now under domestic.
Okay.
Taxes on domestic goods and services on a e-levy yenya 2 billion. Expenditure in advance of appropriation no yedi kan bear 3 months but on be yefio and to me if you are obviously 2025 budget no dibenya from e-levy no se be all form.
Yes.
Into 2 billion no the estimates are can be less than 2 billion ameba. Into 2025 now fiscal tables no page 134 bon say e-levy or say 517 million.
Okay.
Na yam pass e wa den.
We yefio.
Yes. I mean for levy be a friend of COVID-19 health levy. 2024 out 10 in 2.7
billion from COVID-19
from COVID-19.
Okay.
Into Sabino say obi ye fi ho afie we are.
Yes.
So estimating here lower than 2.7.
Sure.
Unim de show. 3.8 billion
for this year.
Me patch.
Meaning that it is not going away this year.
Wafa, me say budget we me budget o. Nipa ni din your friend Kessel Ato Forsen on behalf of His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama. Figure 2024 COVID-19 na enye yenyim fi ho ba omia se o be ma opa onyim fi ho 2.7. 2025 na yesi COVID 3.8
billion. Meaning that for this year a better part of our buying sika and at least the budget now is clear. We don't have to believe at that point. Say,
but we have to make the point. We have to make the point for people to understand. Say propaganda na nkofodi na mkrum say, oh ye COVID, ye e-levy, ye betting, ye anyway no. Me say kwahwe details ni mu. They are even estimating higher revenues for COVID. 3.8.
Yes. The other thing they say, Kojo, do you agree with the decision to reform your VAT regime? No, in this
I agree with that decision. I agree with that decision.
And you also agree, because, while the reform
because the current VAT, it has a cascading effect.
Yes.
It was one of the mistakes that we made.
Yes.
We should not be shy to admit
accept,
it.
Yes.
It was one of the mistakes that we made. It is important that it is reorganized. The consultation of person, good.
Okay.
Advice from Fiscal Affairs Department of the IMF is good. But se unye wadwin se ube in 2025 akanokre.
But do you also agree that while the reform process na air cost no ontimi ni COVID levy no?
COVID need obetumi ayi. You can do the broader reforms subsequently. COVID na one line.
Yes.
You can take it off. Just a repeal act. And determine the square of parliament. Minimum be or better no. Our parliament. A better say LGBT no. What the ball be able to yes. And to be true to it. And for one no politics say Akufo-Addo 3 more day. MPP for hey we wicked. COVID na koni yetua COVID. Now we say ubeyi na fi wo ba. Weja umna de bro for the creative front in the back. We are now in consultation with the one and we'll call them from April and we set up a team to earn. Now the 3.8 billion akoshe budget. When dino correct.
Wait.
When dino correct.
Good. Without tense now, my yet say the meaning say abayi eyi. I mean, would you say e-levy there? Truly, my year free.
Since I'm catching saying 2 taxes now, court tables no more.
Yeah. E-levy na a say am I in 2.2 billion.
Aye.
2.2 billion. Meaning that's a loophole no abai was say buying a plucking.
Yeah.
In plucking it no say more tax refund account beer. Mono ade ana was a more day no. In fact, the explanations are about the more turning crying to a slash fund. a na modi ties ka bi fa e kire bi o deals me kra na manfo nche dan hu so yi ono no o ma me yes ade no in fact obeti percentage amode cost tax refund account ne mo no from 6 no or the babe 4%. No ebe mayen be 0.3% of GDP 3.5 billion be available ebe pluck is a loophole.
One can say 3.5 be available. Also, Mr. Speaker, in essence, we have saved 3.5.
Very well. Very well.
Maka de no. Obi, Mr. Any dim. Obi obe catcher and me who say nkofo bi na we financial engineering and me pacho men kebida. Enye no kre. Ma me to me bunchiro mu. U program ya we yemfa ne say total revenue for program yi 100 million. Na yeti mic ba ko headphone ba ko bebu. Bibi be say kakra. Enti ya ne say 100 million ne ba. Ye beti 6% edi kan ato ho.
Yes.
Eno sebe yen spend it. Yen fa nkonkoma kwasi twum ne ade se bia monje as part of yi. Na bibi bua ye de ayeden. Ye de aso ano because ya nya ne saa say this 100 million in akomom. Ne e ko catch am say bibi abunti mo ma iska nkonko ya be di be 3-4-5 months. We show you penifo e baso ne ade nti wo mpene saa. Nti ma agree administratively say ye 100 million na ye be yi 6% ato ho. Na bibi bua ye de aso ano. Bibi amua ye be den. Ye de be kwa akoma good kwasi twum. Obaye no first usi wa yi to bi afi ho nti tokura beda ho why permanent revenue.
Yes.
Types of revenue or two types of revenue, in fact 3. You have permanent revenue, your temporary revenue, you have medium. Okay, medium near there was sunset clauses also. Permanent near there tax at the income tax at the permanent half a ball. Nti why yi permanent revenue where you feel. Any ebisa say kwa ben na wo be solve permanent revenue gap no. Once and say operational sikana yete to ha say bibi bu ane ye de aso ano no me reduce percentage of their na meteto no from 6% to 4%.
Yes.
Into 2% na manti anto ho no, which is already government revenue and would have gone to kwasichum no.
Yes.
Me dey akoma kwasichum. Na den why? Me unsa na person would draw my attention to it. Because yes, can when you so it goes back to government chest. It goes back to consolidated account. Into one answer question, any new revenue, save will be esika.
But you also know, sir,
because next year, no,
yes,
the revenue line now this year, we feel one fairly now see where next year no say 4% into nisika bia would they take care of our revenue line into one answer the revenue gap. The truth is that omuyi 2 taxes no as against the 6 no. Almost the 4 taxes are shame from the back. And no a close gap no. But from the narrative point of view, a person can say, oh, in fact, for be my on ye bibiano. First of all, our taxes for the tete.
And because I know of the economic rent tax, no, for mining companies.
Them say call paragraph 1. Is it 172? No, no 172. 172 near back on. Him say 14 BBA.
Okay, I think 2025 revenue mobilization and okay, where a resource allocation. But let me see. I think there were revenue measures.
Mekai.
Okay, the 2025
157, paragraph 157.
157.
157. The honor or the share, no, the brofono katani, 4 taxes.
Consequently, we are proposing to increase the growth and sustainability levy from 1% on the gross production of mining companies to 3% to enable the nation to have its fair share of the windfall from increase in gold prices. We also propose to extend the sunset clause of this to 2028, obviously because of projections, etc. And I say, we also propose to extend the sunset clause of the special import levy to 2028. Mr. Speaker, Ghanaians and this honorable house will recall that road tolls on public roads were zero rated in 2020.
And no credit, I'm not adding it to it because
Okay,
you
you're
know
not adding that.
there are 4 taxes in the show.
Yeah.
One thing here on the Brofun Nakatanim. First of all, growth and sustainability levy. No,
Yes.
there's no 2% of gross production on mining companies. A tax for fraud.
No, maybe. Or say, currently, 1% on gross production. And more they quote 3%.
And I make catch. Now say you know a tax policy.
Yes.
Or the 2% tax abetoso.
Abetoso, sure.
Na brofo de kata ho ne say oh one wo hoda da na
me
pagem why impose 2% tax on gross gold production.
Yes. But that's on mining companies.
No problem, but that's a tax maybe.
Okay.
So let's not pretend there are no new taxes. A whole na all pluggy loophole no. Some person will be who say a tax. So catch also 6 na maka but actually 2 ena meyi.
Yes.
Na tokro na aba no actually made 2% ato ha say ena made tu aka obe say wa yi ba ko yi ba ko why adanko dada do. Enti wan kana sa o say o changing from 1 to 3. We impose 2% tax on gross gold production.
Yes.
A tax.
Yes.
That's number 1. Number 2, sa legislation no na a medium revenue.
Yes.
Who's a material say you have 3 types: short, medium, permanent.
Short, and
Okay.
medium.
In fact, permanent, temporary,
and
medium. Medium. A medium. Into medium no ya all the sunset clause tie. You can say sunset clause e wo emre bi achi ase ani say enyunu bedu e wo mra we ho. So it will go to bed. It will die at the end of 2025. Into time a ye she mra no you can say after 2025 e mo bi anje sa to ni bi.
Okay.
Their finance minister I say or the tour bar between 2026, 2027, 2028.
Yes.
A new legislation and or the beba. On pesa ube who saw the tour for Frabantino. Brofo you soon say we extend the sunset clause no to 2028. What it means is we're imposing new taxation.
No be 2028.
Now
in the next 3 years.
Growth and sustainability level. What categories now? Banks, insurance companies, technology companies, a whole breadth. The various companies that are going to now pay this tax from 2026 to 2027 to 2028.
But he was clear, so we need for mining company.
No, 2 things. Can brofuni where they can extend it from 1% to 3%.
Sure.
And now also extend the sunset clause on the Growth and Sustainability Levy Act
to 2028.
A2.
Okay.
Yeah, kotoba na importers.
Is there a sunset clause for this specific
A2
mining companies at the end and we increase
A2 and this are on betrayal. Owie no importers complain say import duties was wrong. Into be ka Dr. Baumiaka say ye be ni CD rate. Na ya pegeno to Togo. Because now importers pay relief e port ho. Na ya passing maybe a friend special import levy e be 2025.
Yes.
Or the fofraba 2026, 2027, 2028.
Why extend the sunset clause? No?
Or extend or the fofraba. Or the new piece of legislation.
Sure.
And only brofuna why any say we have extended the third piece of legislation. Third tax. Tax number 4. Insurance. Also the BB be share anymore say we exempt motor insurance.
Yes.
How much also will be into motor insurance.
VAT on motor insurance.
Yeah, information yenya and say actually omo impose VAT on non-life insurance excluding motor insurance. And what that means they say to have VAT on all other types of insurance, property insurance, marine insurance, all other types of insurance. That would amount to 4 taxes. So 4 taxes and no the closely gap now. Equity because of taxes now.
Because of e-levy.
Because you cannot replace permanent or medium revenue with one-off 3.5 billion. Now next year, what did they need to? Next 2 years, what did they need to?
So every year, the tax refund account is created.
But it's no longer 6% that you've brought down to 4%. Until they are offering savings, no savings be anywhere.
Just for this year.
Just for this year. Next year, savings are in a war. 0. So you cannot replace permanent or medium revenue
with a one-off.
With a one-off payment. And then no they betray what they were trying to hide. Say what they're actually using to pay is these new taxes, these 4 new taxes, that's what they are using to pay for the hole that they have created. Now, I know I say, would they come because our taxes for so on industry. Remember, industry grew by 7%.
Yes.
In Tiafi, Uber say, would they come tax service for any finance for any say, or modeler because Saunya impose 2% on gross production to the mining companies now. So they on passing on to consumer. The obey say anya require local content for now a war mining industry mono or no best start squeeze one. Extension of they also extension of sunset clause on all of the other companies that are affected by growth and sustainability now. What is going to happen? They say almost those that pass it on, they'll pass it on to their customers. Into both almost model growth and on say are they who constraining growth. Into growth and also be TFE 5.7 about here 4.4. Patriotic must say yes. Into policies now they call so more they no more say into mo hwe mo mbe and until no model growth na man say 4.4 now because some will say you are reintroducing restrictions or constrictions on the economy. Go back to Kufuor's model, which is create an enabling environment. BM na call for into me. Yeah by BM 2017 to 2020. Eya honchire bae ye bob besia 2020 e the support economy wie na honchire ba no. Then we had to introduce taxes to try and close the gap with sunset clauses. Say over 3-4 years the any 2 years aka we say wie. And until na those sunset clauses were there say by 2025 no.
But
Inti say wo ba na say afi wo sign constraining economy now growth na be suffer.
But the ordinary Ghanaian listening to you no enim say Mabain entimi nkwama no ne enkonko bobosia. A situation which was bequeathed to them by the immediate past administration. It is omuntimi nkwama no ne enkonko bobosia. And they cannot also consistently borrow from the local market. They crowded out private sector. Inti awasa buying pay some of these ways to bring in some more revenue.
Revenue no what are you doing?
Say
revenue no dey den
revenue kakra na eba no
wo dey den
oh na so much say allocations
no wo dey den say expenditure
yes
good intini say cut expenditure wo cut expenditure you don't need all those revenue measures and that's why Baumia said cut by 3% of GDP which is 30 billion. If you were cutting from 250 to come to 220 you don't need to impose these taxes because we're bloating expenditure no. You saw the expenditure 300 million co gold board 2.9 billion eco jubilee house. You've seen those appropriations that they're asking us to make because where he put expenditure from 250 to 290
290 billion.
That is why you need these taxes. If you follow Baumia's module that says that cut expenditure by about 3% of GDP, you will not be requiring these taxes because when you cut it won't create a hole because you've even cut expenditure more than the revenue that you've cut. That is the difference between the two fiscal programs that we proposed in 2024. Senka 2025 to 2028 fiscal program no. You pay taxes when you cut expenditure by 3%, 30 billion. You know NDC for ekaso mobe ye taxes no mobile and you say no more yet. The devil is in the details. But also on the expenditure side, you also might beam from 250 to 290. That is the difference between the two.
Yeah. Very well. Ekosiisen so high Senpai for many honorable Gov't Oppong Nkrumah and AD and Komo. We'll pause for a short break here. One other major idea finance minister on capping of statutory funds and Bakokra na Ochremua Ebemanu free space. Amuwetimia Fande. Free senior high school and other interventions. The bedi san common on uncapping of already we share to the NHIA National Health Insurance Authority CEO we issue statement that Abanya Baso say Abanya take his decision to uncap your friend is saying the NHIL levy Yenyeska Edigu Edema NHI Momudi on Ejuma no get fund already there Abba yatese this assembly common fund and so no will be uncapped and from there no aban say cut toward the three allowances the ama assembly members MPs near assembly members na Ejuma e form is this good news for him as a member of parliament ye be this an common nyina ba moma memfa we mu entwem taw na afeyen toasa en common so mesre mani die mu ase mu be yi masum na we mu ye ede amame a syntax tank and say ene se opese wo store nsuo e wo fie ene ade a syntax tank ene wo hia ewo ufie na afe wahama bibia timi akoye enti unya syntax tanka eho eden strong esan so tough enti unya bia eboa papa men Canada na unto bibia nche ebusua bi da to syntax tank efa koma won na we no ema access to clean water into to the koma family na access to clean water. In fact, se wunya bi ofie wo office na wo the store nsuo ho asem enye problem ema wo da syntax tank papa bi ehwe from crime pai ena esan wo inner white layer enti tanka efin ba ase a wo ye betimi so aye bia ma win color bia wo pe bia na ye be ye e dia ma say green na wo pe blue na wo pe ash na wo pe syntax tank e be ye ede ama bibia wo Ghana he bia ofren a ye be deliver bi ede ama 0244 335 168 0244 335 168 syntax tank strong tough. Emirates Airlines say phantom anim say any if you want to fly out of Accra, why don't you fly better with Emirates? Okotna Emirates economy mpo nioma ubenya wo ho no eseweni ensa catcher. In fact, even in Emirates economy, you can enjoy endless entertainment on board with up to 6,500 channels to choose from. You heard me right, 6,500 channels. Enti unya froko kotnemua. Just sit back, relax, and watch the latest Hollywood and Bollywood blockbusters, comedy box set, and even live sports. Unem riem na wo share EPL or share GPL or share Italian Serie A any adinina ewiem, and you can even stay connected with onboard Wi-Fi into no you are connected to the internet na or chat with your friends and your family or share holiday selfies from 40,000 feet above sea level, and you get so much more even in Emirates economy. And you enjoy more convenience and flexibility to over 140 destinations across the world within the Emirates global network. Find out more at emirates.com. Enti ene se wu to kan free Ghana ha airlines na akano ja papa wum Emirates Airlines ena emunim se teteno na ode broditre na ye di bidie afra ye di twi wosen a ema wosen ete wine fita kama ena ya befo kwan so nti no ye di charcoal michire bidie na bi ena ye di aye toothpaste enti Samara Company Limited ede Kale charcoal toothpaste aba unim se bidie ewo properties bi wo mu a eyi bacteria efri wanum wa okasa bad breath ebeyi ede efri ho bidie eye adwuma brutal. It is a ye de aye toothpaste you can imagine Kale charcoal toothpaste upe toothpaste ebema fresh breath all day long eye Kale charcoal toothpaste formulated and produced under strict hygienic conditions na all the necessary production protocols na ya film all the necessary approvals was FDA de mayen omo de amayen into ya krogen Kale charcoal toothpaste amount fresh breath amount whiter teeth amount sinye fita kama dental plaque into ose emu nsheda ankoye we hwe nioma bi ja enkoye unya Kale charcoal toothpaste ebeye amount ena osie chinam no strong gum Kale charcoal toothpaste brutal men Canada and bomodin say ubenya bi atofie impanyifo timi yusu enkola 6 years and above ebetimi eyusu another quality product from Samara Company Limited frewon was 0246 864798 0246 864798 now only one in sour so Kale charcoal toothpaste happy smile there omo boy adwuma papa and mama yina yen hyene nso wa we wa business dada anasa fe na opese we business foforo na sika wo de bekwa am no ne akofa neoma ba ne ade no unni bi me pa chaw o Ghana ha unni ha Logistics and Supply Company bi abaye from MNC Logistics and Supply Limited MNC Logistics and Supply Limited almost say what the Ghana ha na okachira won say wo hia nioma from US, from China, from Japan, from Australia, from Canada, from South Africa, from Dubai. Uhia nioma na wo de omo abefa nioma na e de abrew e Ghana. Into omo they supply all your procurement, import and export needs. Say general goods, omo deba product, equipment, bibia we here bia. Na omo supply amount so at very competitive rate from across the globe. Baby ye mount timely delivery into time ye be sha say de nioma ne beba no. Sa time no pepepe on sabe ka nioma. Ebeba nso no they would all be in optimal condition. Into nioma no ebeba na ehun kan. Pepe said you no eno ane de bro. We are ready to serve you. Into fraying 0302 551918 0302 551918. Now only in income MNC Logistics guaranteed satisfaction or more ya dear papa Ghana for ajiwana tum. DSTV so ede in sempane nam afimu. Almost 2025 we are about showing up into you have to show up because Omonomai already said they would help you for you to show up. And they say, oh no, Dijuma, now we a DSTV subscriber dada. And they do more catch you and say, Ebia wono, or compact. Almost say upgrade ko compact plus. Unya upgrade ko compact plus. Ombema premium channel number 1 month for free. In Tisao access pay, for example, for family, upgrade to compact, or upgrade to compactor. In fact, you be more wash a compact plus no 1 month for free. You know, and it's an amazing thing at DSTV yama this year, in the year 2025. Almost there is nothing better than putting a little bit in and getting a lot more out. Into we upgraded from compact to compact plus. Near more premium session free for 1 month. You know. In the episode upgrade, you dial star 759 hash star 759 hash to upgrade today. Terms and conditions apply. DSTV, your home of entertainment. Ghana for Joanna tum papa into also modern na mawunsa intimi enkawodie. Ekosiisen so ni haya Sempa FM. Na unim se Royal Kingdom Estate in sono ene mu amopen sase ewo prime areas wa Accra ena Ebri. A mo mpese mu betua boden me pacho Royal Kingdom Estate aba ede amamo. Omo ansase in prime areas Accra ena Ebri. Ebone shase fi 90,000 Ghana cedis. Solid. Wa okoko hu area na serviced plot na papa bi. It imagine sa Accra wenya asase o airport residential area ho ene airport hills ene ade na wutua 90,000 Ghana cedis. Unya ne baby a say Royal Kingdom Estate. Ebri de nso udru ho landscape ne nkwa wa wani beje se Royal Kingdom Estate about litigation free land acquisition, construction was as OPC dan was so on beyama design and a property management nina omutu ho anamon ewo eho. Flexible payment plans or more so si adan ni bi o mo ton pe dan so on beton bi amount fo almost I will premium furnished apartments for short rentals mo pay Airbnb ni ade no eno ewo East Airport eho efe papa fully furnished. Your office ewo cantonment opposite Soul Clinic International School. Freying 0557 555 909 0557 555 909 and it was 0272 778880 0272 778880. Royal Kingdom Estate, building communities, nurturing dreams. Ma menfa we twem na fe men kan mo messages kakra na men san mra back to Honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah. Mo a dumso hamo. Open sustainable power supply. Open sika utia on power eba from edemount. Consider solar technology because any no a real bow Ghana and they say when you answer catch it. Men fair reaning in hatabanchen fan yeko container de unya solar panel, papebi, enya lithium battery, enya solar inverter, e will fear be flexemawa. A real air bono dia generating power. No way you so fear. sika utua ewo electricity bills when ebeba form say whom Italian Solar Technology and Security Limited aba na omo a wide range of high quality solar product. Yewo high premium solar inverters, yewo solar lithium batteries, yewo solar wall light, yewo solar street light. In the street light are powered by solar. One a the power street light. In the name of afebo, yewo solar panels and yewo solar roofing tiles. Me pacho ye pese funo biya timi yebino. So ye company na pese be fix solar system maybe emawa. Your 5-year installation plan at the companies and Robert 20% down payment. No what tria dia can over the 5-year period. Kakra near fix amount. Say you fee ankra fee and so and on the amount of 4 to 6 month installment plan residential. Obama in 70% down payment. No tria dia kanan kakra edi amay. Me pacho frewon CC and MFX bimao. Na utria initial investment we are febo uni obi any electricity bills in komobi di bill. Me pacho fre 0549 711191 0549 711191 and a 0534 299584. Italian Solar Technology and Security Limited. Solar energy made easy. Your WhatsApp number is 0548 443 523. 0548 443 523. 32 minutes after 5. Honorable Oppong Nkrumah is our guest in studio, or a MP of Wasia Irebi constituency, ranking member on the Economy and Development Committee in Ghana's Parliament. Obi, good evening. Honorable Oppong Nkrumah and his MPP were given the chance to manage this country for 8 years, but they put this country into a mess. Where was he when his MPP government was booted out because of mismanagement? Tell him governance is not about who knows how to talk, but the ability to deliver. And we are delivering. Sir Prince Owayen Suano, or a deputy constituency secretary. Obi, good afternoon. Please ask Honorable Oppong Nkrumah, did the budget capture the major roads ongoing? Secondly, what is the fate of 1D1F? Nana has your jury. Abayane 1D1F eka. Nioma umechemno into 1D1F you start a middle belt, northern belt, central belt, and your meaning na by nichemwa or more echem. Nana has your jury. That's your answer. We say Obi. Good afternoon. Excellent delivery by Kojo in exposing the budget, the false claims in the budget by the finance minister. Ejakwejo or Dallas in Texas. Obi, please. I've read about the act that's been used to establish a bank. The last time I checked, it is stipulated in that if you want to establish a bank, you need a minimum capital requirement, liquidity support, minimum capital requirement of 400 million Ghana cedis.
At 930.
Yeah, 930.
And Specialized Deposit Institutions Act.
Sure. Ibu in secondary, you make the point, sir. How much did government allocate for the establishment of the Women's Development Bank? 51 million Ghana cedis.
But they need about 1.5 billion.
For Momo
modeling. No?
Modeling and yeah. Good. Ibu in secondary, Medase. Obi, yesterday, I was expecting cocoa farmers to hear the increment from 3,100 to 6,500 cedis as promised, but okay. But that did not happen, or is just robbing Peter to pay Paul budget. I'm taking Rashid Edie Enono. Obi, the Honorable Oppong Nkrumah is too intelligent. He is very sharp, articulate, and honest. I'm glad to be under his tutelage. Please tell him he dey form wa Kwesi Boche Jr. Esquire and on the way up. Okay. Okay, nti said the name Patrice Amegashi say Ochiao. Ze unimno.
Yeah, so.
Ochiao, good. We say Obi. I am Eben from Kwabenya. Let Honorable Oppong Nkrumah know that Ghanaians gave the NDC led by JM 4 years to govern, so they have a long way to go. He would explain, tire. It will be better for them to be patient because JDM is ever ready to leave behind a legacy. Period. Eben Kwabinya Yadase. Wesa Obi. Okay, let me see. Good afternoon. If not for propaganda purposes, how can you go to parliament with a Ghana-made bag, but where... Look, the seats now. With German shoes and... countries now will boss an entire in Obi, but UEA already has the job center. YEA should be has the job center app that takes care of what they want to develop. So why replicating 2 apps for one which is already in existence? Honorable Kojo Ban Ajeman Nedie Enono. Ekosiisen Swene Ehaya Sempa FM. Obi, greetings to my boss in whom I'm well pleased. Tell him I'm grateful for all he did for me as a minister and a brother. Kofi Ameyao. And Odi Weyaba Kofi Yadase. Weisa Obi. Good evening. The MPP's problem is the use of the word lottery by the minister. Google search put lottery as a situation whose success or outcome is governed by chance, unquote. So what's the ambiguity in this? Need I tell you the NPP has a different dictionary to what we all know? Remember, reviewing means cancellation. May means shall. My prayer is for the realization of all these allocations. Michael Seiram Papa Lamte Nedia or Dia Breye. And on Michael Yedase. Wesa Obi, good evening. See how Honorable Kojo Oppong Nkrumah is explaining this to the public. What happened when they were in power? Where were they to explain things to us? Asemo Gamel from Ewutu or Brachere. Gamel Kojo was a regular on this show. Another wunti, Wesa Obi, kindly tell Kojo that he's very good at criticizing. They were given 8 years and they messed our economy up. Ask him of the Cocoa Board debt, Electricity Company of Ghana debt, and why ex-Chief Justice Sophia Akufu was out demonstrating. Obi helped Ghanaians by inviting some esteemed economists to debate and analyze the budget. Odenoho Worcester in the US of A. Good afternoon, Obi. Is it only MPP members that when there is a debate, they try to even recognize the other opponent? Tell my brother Kojo Oppong Nkrumah he should go ahead. One day, he would lead our party because of some of the qualities I see in him. Nana Kwame Ofei, Ewo Suhum, and Odiwe Aba. Obi, good afternoon. Kojo Oppong Nkrumah is making... Okay, honestly, you are making noise. Yes. They have all the solutions in this country but could not govern. Ghanaians gave them 8 years. They only came and ate and drank. He should spare us the noise. We are thinking all what we need was to send the elephant into the bush so that we can have some peace in this country. After all, they were not doing anything better. BILG Ewo Madina Nedia or they are braying. No. Wesa Obi, NDC's first budget vindicates Kofi Bentel, and or a quote of Kofi Bentel by say okay or say policy analyst and say okay that post no or say it was in reference to politics in the US and not here in Ghana. And ma yemfa insihwa.
Let me respond to some of the messages. And yes,
Yeah.
Maybe I'll forget.
Okay, one more and then you
Okay.
can respond.
Okay.
Master Planner Junior says President Mahama allocating 3.5 billion to free SHS policy is a good move. Parobi, do you remember when former President Nana Addo spent 2 billion on free SHS? President Mahama criticized and said if he has that amount, he will not invest all of them into free SHS. What has changed? Hypocrisy and dishonesty. Master Planner Junior, Kentampo. Yes, Kojo.
So there was a deputy constituency secretary who said we left the country in a mess. They are delivering. Then there was Eben from Kwabinya. I also we go explain.
Yes.
And I'm saying who say on my 8 years, yeah, mess up. Apparently about course, and also we are making noise in their ears. And some me no pen America. Afa this set of messages home. Tribuna Ghana photo abama o trimi o de obi kasa o say enti obi on fana sem ko baby o ye dede me kai the last 8 years some bits of feedback tribi ba oh please mahama 8 years or any meals on by then on by any kick on there in the end senke tie some of those bits of feedback to correct some of our mistakes Kenya is an yet opposition enti it will serve you well my brothers who are listening, it will serve you well, say yes, you be or baby a mistake near say how far be mistake to serve you well, say mobiti. Now so we say in Tubia there 4 years no and chereba. Roads, men who details in roads.
Okay.
Agenda one cry there until 1D1F they also are cancel.
Yeah.
But to be fair to him and I'll say or person jama other sector ministers no more man kasa be present you more
almost specific
ones.
Okay.
Inti ye better already they are started checking what fiscal tables no much said the allocations they are not much. Ebi enunti no person wa beka ehun asem no but the allocations in those places
munim the big push na bekom
or see infrastructure.
Okay.
Until say obedient details until maybe the infrastructure ministers will come together and give a detail. Mr. Cherubin me message be or more
YouTube live stream. Yeah.
Cherubin say your idea is when you call economic dialogue. Cherubin will be invited into economic dialogue. President Bejina Parliament say yinina yemrana yembetre adwin. So my invitations near then obi are inviting the various groups that were being invited who were not invited to the
minority as a
and the MPP as a party were not invited. In any case, call economic dialogue nearby. Cherubin, have you seen the outcomes of the economic dialogue and how it has translated into any economic policy? I know it's another matter that we'll discuss later. But two issues are raised. I'm a person may answer now. Mr. Kwankaka. Bakoye on capping of the funds. Earmarked funds, capping and realignment act. Meka in the year 2017, Act 947. The NTIS Act and then say you create state institutions be brea omunya transfers from the budget obekone sika na de omode ye no is not the real purpose. Now finance ministry no only space to fund government priorities into you create mrase ya kapo omnyina into sa EMR funds in they shouldn't take more than MCB 20% of total budget expenditure ya kapo omnyina to 20% ya kapo ewie no. If there's any exigency be or say spending more, the minister responsible for the sector and the finance minister, na finance minister are realigning amount.
Until cast in stone.
Maybe until a frame run earmarked funds capping and realignment act 947 of 2017. Until get funds ikaniswa. Now what justification be our per se ye realigning and I restore.
Yes.
Ya capo to 20 or 25% no. Overflow now back consolidated fund no mo. Ultimately make a case for finance minister to restore. That's how the legislation was framed. Inti ene ESA legislation ni mo because minister no buy one kase obe repeal act no.
Yes.
Inti ESA same legislation ni mo no say all he's doing or kase or ankapwa essentially what he's doing is a wakapo because the act has capped it. Nemum overflow ne ba obe restore. Just about what case has been made for it. It is nothing extraordinary. Capping now, capping no, the free so no, and our restore. And it is something that we were doing in our tenor. It's something that they are also continuing. Now capping no one ya, ube you se finance ministry and our central government expenditure no fiscal space ni so. The so no crown we choose priorities are ye kan ho asemi. Ti media obisami ameka se omomo mani nko ehonom nyusu capping ni ye enye sa agencies ni bibe use at a point that's how the agencies obekoro sisi offices across the country anka they could have rented somebody's premises nanka sa sika nom DC office no they are serve under goods and services budget. Nti I am of the view say idea I will say omutumi ehwe na omude
the decision to fund free SHS from Get Fund, no, is it something you support?
That decision is premised on the fact that there's no dedicated funding for free SHS.
Yes.
That's not true.
How is it not true?
Free SHS was funded from a dedicated source. Your friend with the goods and services flow of ABFA. Unima no ebisani achiro. Ewo tables ni mu. Metumi achiro line ewo. Eho na ya dedicate say ha na ye fund fee. In any case, ni na government revenue. By ye na ho na dedicate. O buy you say we ye free ho. Na the akosha get fund. Sikana has it changed? It hasn't changed. The only thing that you have said is say ye kapu get fund ni we are flow ne buy no. Who feel say extra a year but so you will restore.
Yeah, but he also says this time no government is swallowing the debt that's PLC into a buying edge aka central government kaho. No we free get fund from Sai encumbrance no in the get fund benya says kenina plus through the uncapping no additional revenue assign ako. That is certainly different from what used to be.
Okay, the internet this vocation said debt to GDP ratio at 100%. No? Okay.
Yes.
Because Omokachre and say apart from central government debt, debt say all other institutions.
What contingent liability on
all the government every do be 100.
Yes.
It is a debt net dachi, which was off government books,
yes,
giving you more space,
yes,
on the government books to function. Now Kofaba to government books no, so you have crowded your space out to when you first. But secondly, even if we assess total government debt, does the figure change or not? It doesn't. It doesn't. To some of these semantics, na yeah, and yes, I will increase time I dedicated funding, no. Some education from no before say be I'll be introduce finance be education tax be and I say be I'll be get fund levy we're increasing by 0.5. That is new money.
But if I set a get fund, now meaning said there was an encumbrance on my flows ever because of that PLC. See, as a central government say, wafasa kano. Into me, I'm take get fund. No? Now I'm happy because now me be the full complement of my money.
Does it change the central government position?
No. But I'm sure from the get fund perspective.
And I said, budget is a get fund budget.
Yes.
Obia dear will make me the work of transfers. I don't want to go back into the detail. Ubehu NHIL, you get fund. Ubehu biawum. Until you can't in the central government. Headline about economic central government.
Yes.
Until so if you account back, the account back. Now account manager of account in any age. Now account manager being an NJ has the position of government changed. Multimedia group more a number of subsidiaries. Yeah. A Kabida Adom FM. Correct?
Yeah.
And Endas Empire FM. And I'm a as new finance manager. I'm saying Canada as Empire FM. No, me year to corporate. You come multimedia group accounts. I can't woman anymore. Obi yanko enim bibian sign. Allowances to assembly members.
Yes.
And we have one option. And we NDC4 proposal. The proposal from MPP was that apart from 1,000 CDC on BTR to assembly members.
Monthly.
A day pan assembly members in here. Omu here budget at the electoral area.
Yes.
In the MPP manifesto promise was that Yema assembly members an electoral area share of the common fund.
Okay.
In the common fund, no, to say near bar, this in decided the no, and they see a bit chat a be ato electoral area be and now we assembly member. Na se kania show area, say what budget a bit to me school then be so power budget a bit to me ti between and no any 1,000 cedis a month we say near him is susu sebe some electoral area ni ye pa. A question I jama Ghana for.
But say and no say electoral area fund no anka assembly member no enya direct support be like the eba or
no budget no.
Yes.
It would have included allowance for them.
For the assembly members.
Yes. And if he obisi or no be man allowance pe but all man budget emfenye juma. This a DC na be juma ho. Na me bisa o senti mi no. Near hin na be boy electoral area na pa. Me susu say budget for the electoral area. I don't think MP's common fund. I don't think district assembly's common fund because you say decentralized. Inti see in Jani na our central government. Inti ye 5% of total revenue say cut down. e ko do down na ka district capital or DC pa no ama bi say o pass district lights or pass jiwe. In fact ni papa mu a yen ka no kre obo say usually omo nya assembly members from the ruling party no omo nya some of those bits of support. Until the MPP model was that yen ko further ni yen create electoral area share of the common fund. Until common fund nke ba
be what MPs share of
thank
common
you
fund.
Until ba ye be 30 or 35% no by electoral area. Until hona assembly member or compensation allowance kakra wom, but also who budget a would be ejuma,
which will be monitored by the assembly,
of course, and audited. And then what we have is just the allowance to the assembly members. It's better than zero, but maybe the other approach, you know, a better benefit electoral area and some more. Whether this will translate into higher delivery at the electoral area level. We have 4 years.
One of my legacy projects, Agenda 111.
Okay.
From everything you've heard in this budget, are you worried about the state of
I am worried because one, Minister no anka hwehwe. 2, the president was misbriefed.
How?
Omudi kan could brief president say agenda 111 ba ko pena ye commission here, which was not true. Na 3. Omuksan could brief ni say here 1.7 billion dollars and sana ye wie nyano kre 1.3. Omudi kan koko brief ni said that was the third point, said there's no dedicated source of funding. And also nyano kre. The dedicated source of funding account if we friend of Gov't Health.
Gov't Health.
Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund. No more create sub account under it Gov't. It is kind of ABFA capex.
Yes.
Now better Gov't mu na Gov't there to Gov't Health mu. Then it goes to pay the contractors. So only due to 400 million and now 1.3 or more you know them certificates bar. They misbriefed the president on 3 things on Agenda 111. And until the president has formed a view, say Agenda 111 here. And your district be na say nyabi because Abansi council and there's no dedicated funding. Nentino obe franchise ibi ama omo ebetumi a complete every. First of all, Macho says our briefing is correct. Secondly, it goes contrary to their president and agenda platforms in front of nurses car say and no crese own agenda 111. Obewi now their form wejuma. And there where they are going and with the silence in the budget and say and they are umbenya abansi kadi. So what they are going to do is they are going to franchise it out. Franchising it out is a very different concept. Nka franchise ni papa mu a wo a wo beje no mo na utu aban.
Yes.
Na aban awie train ai bibia no de ama no operating in accordance with you know. From the way they are going, it appears so person mo farm out the uncompleted projects to people to you know
we na why BOT na
we don't know.
Okay.
Until some more detail will be required, but at this stage I'm worried. Me district ni district hospital before I'm MP Dr. Bakukra ni bi. Nyame adom ne yenya 3 doctors ya see theater kitwa bi ni ade. Inti agenda 111 was a big deal. Yeah, 100,000 ye me constituency ho. Agenda 111 ki yenya doctors ni ade be boy.
Now what they na Drew saying?
No, ni attra 60%.
Oh, okay.
Inti me worried not just for myself but for the many other places are yen commission here. And I think it's important that at some point the government has a clear plan. Is it 2 years? Is it whatever? Come up with a clear plan. Let's see how to finish and operationalize it.
Are you impressed with the fact that my make allocation for nurses training, teacher training allowance?
It's good that they haven't cancelled it. The same problem we faced, I hope they don't face it, which is revenue mobilization.
Okay.
You have to mobilize and pay. If you've not received the revenue, paying becomes a bit difficult. I hope they don't face that problem.
Kojo me na say na menim se yenkomo afi na ahase ye be san so di nkomo bio
obi me da se nyame nka ho
Ekosiisen so high asempa 94.7 FM in mo messages no mo mfa emre yen